Haley came to us on the night before Thanksgiving, on an evening when kids across America are helping to make pies, or cleaning the house for guests, or just cuddling up with their families to watch a movie. Haley was on the run. Haley grew up in a household that was rife with substance abuse and neglect. She was vulnerable and lonely. She thought she was worthless. And then, when she met a friend who started paying attention to her and making promises he never intended to keep, she was more than happy to leave home behind. Soon, though, she was being taken all across the country and being forced to do unimaginable things with strangers at every stop. And so, it was on the night before Thanksgiving that Haley finally escaped her sex traffickers. She escaped her sex traffickers, but she had no belongings and nowhere to go and nobody who cared about her except for us. I'm James Waddy, and I'm the Director of Development for Murphy-Harpst. Murphy-Harpst has been providing a safe, stable, and loving residential environment for children and youth since 1924. The young people who come to us have two things in common. One, they have suffered unimaginable neglect and abuse. And two, this has resulted in trauma. So why does trauma matter? Traumatic experiences cause our brains to work differently. Trauma affects our behaviors. It can cause us to lash out or have anger issues. It can cause us to fall into substance abuse. Trauma keeps us from trusting others, from concentrating in school, from loving our families and ourselves. But most importantly, trauma keeps us from realizing our best and fullest life. Of the 55,000 children who are victims of abuse and neglect in Georgia each year, a full third don't even receive the therapeutic support that they need. But not our kids, not at Murphy-Harpst. We provide a safe and nurturing residential environment where children can find healing while finding a home. You see, our kids have missed out on a lot of experiences that many of us have probably taken for granted. And so, we've become a place of first. A first home. When a kid arrives at Murphy-Harpst, they're given their own bedroom. For many, this is their first. They get to pick out their own sheets and decorate. Snacks are available whenever they might get hungry. This might be the first time that kid hasn't had to worry about their next meal. Many kids arrive with nothing but the clothes on their backs. So we provide them with brand new clothes, ones that fit. This might be the first time that kid has ever felt cool in their new outfit. And for many, we're often their first real family. And so every kid at Murphy-Harpst is cherished and loved because that's how they learn to love themselves. So as a part of our family, kids get birthday parties. They get hugs. They get adults who listen. They get friends. Seems pretty basic, right? But for many of our kids, these things are often a first. And those firsts, well, they're a next step forward in the healing journey and of leaving trauma behind. Because when a kid feels safe and loved, like they don't have to fight for their needs or worry about their next meal or lash out for attention, they begin to open themselves up. They open up to their therapists about their past. They begin to communicate with other kids. They begin to concentrate in school. They begin to volunteer to help. And then they open themselves up to some truly extraordinary firsts. On our 160-acre campus, kids often get their first horse ride, or harvest their first vegetable garden, or score their first soccer goal. All in all, we provide a safe and loving residential environment for over 200 kids each year. I sure wish none of them needed it. But the reality is there will probably always be kids who do. And while we can't change their past, we can make sure they have a more successful future. And we do. Because Murphy-Harpst is not a place where the cycle of trauma is allowed to repeat itself over and over again. Murphy-Harpst is a place of firsts. Like Haley's first date. The first time that she had an adult who cared for her, that had her date come to the door, look them in the eye, and have her home by curfew. The first time she didn't have to do anything except enjoy herself. And the first time she was able to come home and tell her friends all about how much fun she had. That is what success looks like at Murphy-Harpst. A first and a new beginning. Thank you.